Joining me now, Florida Congressman Byron Donalds, member of the House Financial Services Committee. Congressman, they're struggling, people are, to afford basic necessities. I haven't seen this since I was a little girl during the Carter era, but you see it, and their people's eyes are filled today with anxiety when they're not angry.
100%, because people can't afford to just do the basic things to live. All of this stems from the massive overspending from Joe Biden, Nancy Pelosi, and Chuck Schumer when they were in charge of the entire government for 2 years. When you massively expand federal spending, that money does come from somewhere. And where it comes from is the purchasing power of every American. Look, if you're rich, you'll figure a way to work it out. But if you're working poor, middle-income families, you have fallen behind, massively so, because everything is up and your wages are actually down when you got to go to the store. Americans can't continue like this. So you have to have a real economic agenda. You have to have a serious plan on federal spending to curtail that so the American people are allowed to thrive and prosper.
Now, Ron Klain, who I don't agree with on much, but he's actually a smart guy. He's the president's in charge of their, well, I think he was working for Biden and Obama, but now he's very worried about the re-election strategy that they put in place, that it's missing the mark. Politico obtained audio of Klain allegedly saying, I think the president is out there too much talking about bridges. If you go into the grocery store and, you know, eggs, milk are expensive, the fact that there's a effing bridge is not, and then the tape apparently cuts out. Now, Congressman, is he on to something? He wants them re-elected. He's been paid a lot of money over the years to deliver the good and bad news to the Democrats, but Klain even sees it.
I mean, he's not wrong, but what are they going to do? Are they going to abandon their political agenda? Are they going to stop the massive Green New Deal spending? Apparently, according to Wall Street now, it's about $2 to $3 trillion for solar panels and windmills, frankly, that we don't need, where we're going to send that money to China, empower the Chinese against our own interests here at home. The Democrats and Joe Biden have a major issue. They were able to accomplish a lot of their domestic agenda, and it sucks. And it's hurting the American people here at home. So they can't give up the agenda because then they have to tell people that they were wrong. So what we have to do is be very simple. We need to be energy independent again at home. We have to be exporting energy around the globe. We have to cut regulations here in D.C. We do have to cut spending here in D.C., allow the economy to flourish, actually secure the border. That's the recipe for success for the American people, not politicians, for the American people. That's the recipe.
Now, well, some of your colleagues have very novel ideas that I think I would share with you tonight. One of them is from Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, in her view about what would be fair going forward. Watch.
I don't remember which celebrity, but it was actually a celebrity, and I was like, I don't know that that's not necessarily a bad idea. One of the things that they propose is black folk not have to pay taxes. Not only do you owe for the labor that was stolen and killed and all the other things, right? But the fact is, like, we end up being so far behind. But to think that America doesn't owe the descendants of slaves is an error.
Congressman, this would be a new way of kind of formulating an old idea, which would be reparations.
Well, it's a bad idea. It doesn't work. How are you going to delineate who gets money and who does not? Or in Jasmine's perspective, who pays taxes and who does not? That's a major problem right there. But at the end of the day, what you really want is an economic system with whether you're black, Hispanic, white, doesn't matter. You have an ability to build generational wealth so you can pass that on to your kids. That's the conversation we should be having. But when you have a crazy economic agenda from the Democrats and Joe Biden, it's not possible for people to get ahead and pass on and build asset growth and pass on generational wealth. That's not going to work. But I'll tell you when it did work. Under the Trump economy. Because under the Trump economy, whether you were black, Hispanic, white, everybody was getting ahead. You were able to actually increase your net worth personally.
Remember those days? I mean, 2019 was just awesome. I mean, people were able to buy houses. Young families were moving into the neighborhood. Now they have to live in a micro apartment. Then all the liberals will be happy, Congressman. Great to see you, as always.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.